Fire for your mind. The Kosher Clinician.
The world takes the time to hear what men want. Are his needs hidden in obscurity or analyzed and scrutinized under the lens of female validation? Does her feelings shape his masculinity or the opposite?
If you eat right, work out, your stock as a man is continuing to decline. Your social market value is going up, and also your sexual market value is going up as a man because you're a silver fox. But what we're getting are women that come into the table where their social market value is going up, which is their money, but their sexual market value is precipitously declining, meaning she's getting older, she's not a virgin, she got a lot of trauma from the men she's been with, she's been ran through, some of them have, or a lot of them have, and so your sexual market value is declining, but yet my social market value and my sexual market value is rising because men, we earn our value over time. So if that's the case, then as she gets older, then men should say, well, you're not a virgin or abused.
I wonder, and I think this is, maybe it's kind of linked into what we're going to talk about with these other clips as well. But do you have any ideas about how this is going to, I have two questions. How do you think this might be reconciled? And what's your forecast? What's your prediction for how this is, like, how this is going to play out in the near future?
So my forecast is that is not going to work with the masculine men, because that is not something that I'm looking for in a relationship. Now, certainly it would be nice if I walked into my house and my wife greeted me, "Oh, little baby, I missed you," this, that, and the other. That would be great. I'm not saying that men don't want any type, or certainly myself don't want any type of emotional connection. I think that's certainly necessary. But as far as marriage and intertwining, and when we talk about marriage, I'm assuming we're talking about intertwining our lives with the state. And so you're not going to get a lot of masculine men.
Are sexless marriages outside of severe illness, abuse, and cheating?
I got married to have sex. I didn't get married to be a monk, right? So you know, once a month, once every other month. Right. I was on vacation one time.
Once every 2 months.
Listen, I've heard worse than that. Right. I was on vacation one time, and his brother, white dude, starts talking to me and this, that, and the other. You know, sitting at the bar, you know, and he's telling me that he was another one. Just didn't touch his wife. It wasn't a physical thing. She just didn't like that. She didn't like it mentally. She didn't like it psychologically. You know, being heard and penetrated, and somebody sweating on her and whatever. You know, all adults here. Right. She didn't like it. But he stayed because he had one or two kids with her, and so he was just in this situation. Right. So why would a man who has been either through something like that or has something to lose take that chance again, doing that? And and to sign up for that. As that clip you played before said, for men with options, you're just not going to get men to sign up for that. That's not a priority. And when they talk about, here's where it goes into the second part there, is this emotional connection and this, that, and the other. That takes a lot of effort for men. And I'm saying this as a man who has spent my time in male-dominated spaces, be it the church, be it, well, it was male-dominated, but not so much anymore.
Another conversation.
nigga ass, loser ass nigga.
Your video with comments about a
He's a
certain
loser.
other female.
Just to let you niggas know, we don't need y'all. We want y'all, but we don't need you.
20 years later.
Our black men, we want all y'all back. Because we love you, we see you, kings. And most importantly, we need you. And most importantly, we need you.
And most importantly, we need you.
You can't.
If you a that's for the streets.
You can't delete the ski. You can't.
When men fail to lead, the children rebel and the women take over.
Fire! For your mind. The Kosher Clinician.
If it ain't seven, it ain't kosher. Heaven and hell, that's what they told you. Real men put the strap down and we can toss them. Young heads picking back up and young dolphins. This is our culture. Now we talking kosher. Clinician, masculinity issues. Absent fathers who miss you. Mama drama don't kiss you. All a part of the ritual. This is how they get you. Separate the men, women clipping babies pretend to. Damn. Lovers, haters acting like vultures. If it ain't seven, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, ain't right, gotta divorce us. If it ain't seven, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, ain't right, gotta divorce us. If it ain't seven, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, ain't right, gotta divorce us. This is kosher condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. This is kosher condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. This is kosher condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. This is kosher condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. Listen. Listen.
All right, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank you for the 6 that are watching. Only 6 folks in the house, guys. I appreciate the 6. And guys, do me a favor, share this content. Share this content as we continue to talk about issues that are germane, not only to traditionalism, but issues that are germane to heteronormative masculinity. And so we're gonna get deep into it, guys. Not gonna be before you guys long. I had a rough week, very rough week. But nonetheless, I'm here. And we're going to have a very cogent conversation, guys, on today. The question is marriage worth it, guys? Is marriage worth it in modern times? One of the greatest things that a man can do is to find a woman that can be his peace. But also one of the most dangerous things that a man can do is to find a woman and she causes him distress and pain. I see it all the time, guys, in couples therapy where a lot of men are just existing. They're not living. They're just existing. And choosing the wrong woman can be very dangerous, not only to your financial well-being, but also to your spiritual and your physical well-being as well. We're living in some very strange times, guys. The world is not like it used to be. People are selfish. Children are disobedient to parents. Men are not leaders or leading or striving to lead. The wives won't let them lead. Daughters are trying to tell fathers how to be men. And sons are rebelling against their fathers. And the traditions of our ancestors are no longer here. And the sad thing is, guys, it's a concept called DARVO. DARVO is an acronym used in the clinical world. I am a licensed therapist. And women that are in relationships that have narcissistic traits, and men as well, use the DARVO technique. They become defensive. They become many times, actually, let me look at this up. They become defensive. Let me see, what is DARVO? Hold tight. DARVO. So they deny what they are doing. That goes back to the cognitive dissonance, but my concept is called deaf. That goes back to cognitive dissonance. They deny what they did. Many men are in relationships where the women actually deny what they did. And this is a concept by Dr. Jennifer Freyd. They will attack you when you bring the evidence to them. and they reverse victim and place it on the offender. And it's a highly successful manipulation technique that many times make you think you're going crazy. Well, it don't make me think I'm going crazy. But see, people that use the Darvo technique, man or woman that are narcissists, they never see nothing wrong that they do. They always have what's called a victim mentality because many times they have a condition called arrested development. Many times they project out of their own pain, they project out of their own ignorance, or they exaggerate the accusation that they're accusing you of. And what happens a lot of times in social media, sometimes folks confuse, I was looking at the young lady, Taylor Chandler, she's very fair and balanced. And she's trying to bring balance back to relationships. And the good thing about having culture conversations, guys, men or women, we're not going to agree on everything, and that's okay. That's part of having a discourse. But I noticed when this young woman talked, Dr. L, or even me myself, I was one of the pioneer therapists in YouTube in this space. And they use a Darvo technique when you say things that they don't like. They will deny that they did it. They will attack you and reverse victim and more or less be the offender. And those are highly narcissistic traits. And one of the things a lot of folks do, like there are guys and sometimes women in YouTube that get slick with their mouths. And then when I get equally slick with my mouth, because I can be verbally aggressive and I can attack you psychologically, then all of a sudden they turn around and they play the victim. But when you look at the evidence say that they were the first one that assailed you, but they like the emotional regulation, they like the self-reflection, and they are going to an ego defense mechanism called denial because they don't want to deal with the reality. And so they disrespect you, and then when you turn back around and slice them up, then all of a sudden you're the bad guy. You're the bad guy, but they started it. They disrespected you, but you're the bad guy. Don't have no self-reflection, no accountability, always in a state of perpetual arrested development, always in victim mode, and never take accountability for nothing that they do. And so many men are in relationships where the women are highly narcissistic. They struggle with striving to get their needs met. And they lack the requisite skills to tell the woman what their needs met. I've been a licensed therapist now for about 10 to 12 years. One of the books I've shared with a lot of men that I deal with is No More Mr. Nice Guy by Dr. Robert Glover. Because see, a lot of men wear a mask. It's called a facade. The nice guy is just a mask. It's an ego defense mechanism to protect themselves, often under the guise of a concept or ego defense mechanism called rationalization. And sometimes they try to intellectualize. And that's why when you're dealing with nice guys, many times they'll turn on you because that's not really who they are. It's just a facade. So I thought the conversation with Dr. L and Taylor Chandler, she's an LMFT, Dr. L, a doctorate in leadership, and myself, I'm a licensed clinical social worker. LCSWs are very broad. We have the power to do many things. The LCSW degree is one of the more powerful degrees in counseling because we're not limited to one scope of practice. We can do military counseling. We can do it all. Our degree is very powerful. And that's not to minimize no other degree, but it's a very broad degree. I was actually, when I was in graduate school, about to go get an LPC, but I was told to get that LCSW. But nonetheless, we're going to get into it. Not going to be before you guys long. If you like what I'm doing, share the content and also donate to the channel. Shout out to Ray Johnson for showing love on last week. Shout out to Gregory Scholar for also showing love. Shout out to Quiet Faith for showing love a couple of weeks ago. And somebody else showed a lot of love a couple of weeks ago, donating. I really appreciate it, guys. Thank you. I've been going through a lot of stuff here lately, guys. Working through regulations, trying to run a business, and I'm going to start doing a lot of self-care. I got to start taking care of myself. I've been through a lot last year. As you guys know, I had a head-on collision back last year. Then 2 weeks after that, my mom passed. And some other family issues that I'm not going to get into that's been very draining, very exhausting. And to you men that are listening, take care of yourself, take care of your health. I got to get in the gym, start lifting weights again, and start taking care of my health so I can be around for my girls. But no man shall live in a relationship or be in a relationship where he's just existing. He's not living. And when a man is in a relationship where he's existing and not living, it becomes an existentialist crisis. And I think what Dr. L is talking about more, parenthetically, is this. Many men are very reticent to get married now, which I don't blame them, because when they look at the kaleidoscope of the laws, losing everything you got after you work like a dog for years to get your value, and understanding that the courts don't care about men, they don't care about male sovereignty, they don't care about men having their rights. I got clients right now that are catching hell in marriage. It becomes what's called an existentialist threat. And so men are saying, you know what, no, I'm good, man, because, I ain't got time to deal with your emotional dysregulation. Not saying that we don't want to be in tune with our women, but I will argue that men have always had emotional intelligence when it comes down to the women that they love, in part, not in whole. Because happy wife, happy life, which is a form of manipulation, forces a man to be emotionally intelligent. And many times at the detriment of his dignity, and many times at the detriment of his masculinity as a man. And so these men never get the kind of resolve that they're looking for. They're often in a state of distress trying to please a creature that they can never please. Let me tell you, men, something. I've said before in the past. Many times the woman that you married, she never really cared for you. She just settled for you because the man that she really wanted had multiple options. And so when you become a silver fox like myself, like Dr. L and like A Peaceful Life, Coach Greg Adams and a lot of other men, you don't have to settle for mediocrity. You can set the bar high and you can demand what you want from a woman. And if she doesn't meet your standards or your criteria, it's fine. You don't debate with her. You don't argue with her. You just move forward. Being a silver fox when it comes down to your kids. You don't argue with your kids. You don't even debate with them because, number one, they're not on your level. They're not your equal. And there's a spirit, guys, going on in the land now. It's a feminine spirit. And that feminine spirit is tied to the spirit of Jezebel. And I'm gonna break it down in a minute because the feminine spirit that's tied to Jezebel is anti-male, it's anti-order, and it's anti-God, and it's highly rebellious. The scripture said that rebellion, stubbornness is as idolatry, and rebellion is as the sin of witchcraft. So if you got a wife or a daughter that's operating in the spirit of rebellion, they're rebelling to the leadership that you're trying to guide them in. They're rebelling to the love that you're trying to give them. They're rebelling to the protection that you're trying to give them. They are operating in a spirit of witchcraft. And I see it all the time in my practice, where the men don't know how to speak out and say what they need to say because that Jezebel spirit tells the man to bow at the feelings of a woman. And that's why it says when a woman worships her feelings more than she worships the objective word of truth or the objective word of God, then that woman is complicit in idolatry. And when you put that woman's feelings and needs above your dignity and your masculinity as a man, then you also be complicit in idolatry as well because you're not leading her anymore. Her emotions are leading you. And so you don't argue with women. You don't argue with your kids. You just stand on business as a man and stand in the presence of God and do what God told you to do. And if you got a woman that's not honoring you and following your leadership and she chooses not to take care of you sexually, I've said this before in the past, before other content creators have said it, but I will argue that if a woman has given her body to multiple men before she gave it to you, she's already cheated because she deprived you of something that was supposed to be only for you. So when they come in demanding things and demanding you have all this emotional intelligence and being emotional sensitive, man, what are you giving me? And many times it's nothing. And so they get mad because they never heard these kind of conversations. Most churches now don't preach objective truth. And so they come in already cheated you of what should have been given to you alone. Men and women both are guilty of this. Because see, when you come into a marriage, if you gave your body to another man, or that man is giving his body to another woman, fornication is pre-cheating. Adultery is post-cheating. But some people get very self-religious or self-righteous, and they try to point things out about you or your behavior, but they've done it the same thing themselves. My younger years, I lived a very conservative life. I lived a life that most women could never come close to. But what I've learned now, guys, we live in a very different time. We live almost like in a parallel universe or also a parallel dimension. The world is not the same anymore. Nothing is the same. And if you want to stay mentally sane, you better stay on your knees and stay close to the Most High Yahweh or Yahshua HaMashiach. You got to stay close to him because he is the lifter of your head. But a lot of men are struggling in relationships because the world has not asked men what they want. I got a book coming out at some point, and I need to start getting it prepped. I want to write a book. That's the dream. That I want to write a book, and this book is going to be dedicated to traditional men that are trying to find traditional women. And there are some women that are trying to be traditional and trying to get with the program. The problem is it genuine, or are you doing it out of survival? And I'm going to make sense in a minute, because watch this. When I listen to some of these women that say we don't need our men anymore, or we were only with you back then because of survival, it lets me know that you were never dedicated to the mission. Watch this. They were never dedicated to the mission. But what they were dedicated to was the provision that you gave her. And therefore, because she was never dedicated to the mission, then that means that her love for you is not unconditional, it's conditional. And you need to start having conditions too when it comes down to your masculinity as a man. So let's get into it. I'm not going to be before you guys long, but I enjoyed the conversation by Taylor and Dr. L. And so let's get into it, guys. Let's get into it and react to this conversation by the two. I thought they did a very good job. Shout out to Dr. L. and shout out to Taylor Chandler. And we're going to break this thing down, and then I'm going to get up out of here and get me something to eat because I am tired. So the title by Dr. L. and Taylor was, Can We Be Honest? Can we be honest? And I thought it was very telling, to say the least. And I love Dr. L. I told Dr. L, man, I said I was proud of him. I made him a 5-star general after this show because he was very candid, he was very poignant, and he was very to the point. And that's what masculine men got to start doing. Masculine men do what they want to do. Your feelings ain't going to change my sovereignty as a man. You can get mad, you can scratch your behind, but I don't care. And when you operate in the spirit of Jehu, you don't bow to the wiles of narcissistic women, and you don't bow to the wiles of women that don't honor you and respect you as a man, children or wife. You love them, you pray for them, and especially you got a wife and she's not following your program, you give her a time limit and you get rid of them. Because let me tell you something. If you're in a sexist marriage, I will argue that that's cheating. You are depriving that husband of something that belongs to him. Just like his provision belongs to you. His protection belongs to you. But what a lot of these modern women do, they mix in my body, my choice, while calling themselves trying to be married. Once you become married, your body no longer belongs to you, and his body no longer belongs to him. I know everybody don't believe in the Christian ethos. I understand that. But on the flip side, conversely, when you get married, whether you're secular or a person of faith, you have a responsibility, an obligation / duty to provide what's necessary for the sustainability of that relationship. And many times men have an issue with telling their story and telling the woman in their life what they want. And so men, you got to start speaking up. But some of you have been so severely introjected from childhood, it's not necessarily your fault. Your ego defense mechanism say, if I talk against anything synonymous to what the woman wants, I'm talking against my aunt, I'm talking against my mother, I'm talking against my sisters, because that in itself is something called spousification or adultification. But we're going to get into it. Shout out to Taylor and shout out to Dr. L. Because there are a lot of men that are in sexless marriages, and there are a lot of men that are not living their lives on potential, but they're just surviving, they're not thriving. And guys, you don't want to be in a relationship where you're thriving, or just surviving instead of thriving. But actually, you know what? Let me get back to this clip by Dr. L real quick. Hold tight. I'm going to get back to this clip, and then I'm going to get into it.
When the world takes the time to hear what men want. Are his needs hidden in obscurity or analyzed and scrutinized under the lens of female validation? Does her feelings shape his masculinity or the opposite?
If you eat right, work out, your stock as a man is continuing to decline. Your social market value is going up, and also your sexual market value is going up as a man because you're a silver fox. But what we're getting are women that come to the table where their social market value is going up, which is their money, but their sexual market value is precipitously declining, meaning she's getting older, she's not a virgin, she got a lot of trauma from the men she's been with, she's been ran through, some of them have, or a lot of them have, and so your sexual market value is declining, but yet my social market value and my sexual market value is rising because men, we earn our value over time. So if that's the case, then as she gets older, then men should say, well, you're not a virgin or beautiful.
Well, I wonder, and I think this is, maybe it's kind of linked into what.
See, man, your sexual market value, man, is getting higher and higher every year. It's rising, especially if you're a silver fox. You eat clean, you lift weights, your money is stacking. You don't get caught up in nonsense like this person, this neophyte 2026 that's been liberally indoctrinated. He or she, their pedagogical awareness has been tied into inductive reasoning. They don't see outside of that inductive pedagogy that they learned while they were in college. They can't not see outside of their confirmation bias because they are highly disturbed. Anytime a man say anything that they want, this fool or this him or her, always say misogynistic, but yet when they do things that are deleterious to the psyche of a man, they don't see things as being misandry. And so we're dealing with mental illness now, guys. We're dealing with people that have been infected by liberal indoctrination. The pedagogy that they have been infected with is based in a very liberal worldview, a very anti-masculine, anti-male worldview. And anytime you speak out against the current zeitgeist that we're living in, you're misogynistic. So you got to laugh at them because it's just mental illness. You don't argue with mentally ill people. You laugh at them because they lack self-awareness. They won't come to terms with the pathology that they have. And they just keep using the Darvo method to try to make you become salad. And what's happening now, so many men have heard it for so long, it don't even faze them anymore. Men are becoming immune to the shaming language. It don't even work anymore. So you let them stay in their corner and let the water roll off your back like a duck and just laugh at them because it's really funny, guys. You got to laugh at it.
We're going to talk about it with these other clips as well. But do you have any ideas about how this is going to... I have two questions. How do you think this might be reconciled? And what's your forecast? What's your prediction for how this is how this is going to play out in the near future?
So my forecast is that it's not going to work with the masculine men, because that is not something that I'm looking for in a relationship. Now, certainly it would be nice if I walked into my house and my wife greeted me, "Oh, little baby, I missed you," this, that, and the other. That would be great. I'm not saying that men don't want any type, or certainly myself don't want any type of emotional connection. That I think that's certainly necessary. But as far as marriage and intertwining, and when we talk about marriage, I'm assuming we're talking about intertwining our lives with the state. And so you're not going to get a lot of math.
And I think Dr. L is right. Men are no longer taking bad deals anymore. See, men, as we get older, we have what's called a cost-benefit analysis. As men get older, the testosterone that rolled through our veins as little boys and younger men, we're no longer blinded by a woman's beauty. Not saying we don't like beautiful women. We're no longer blinded by her sashaying her hips with a dress on. We see things through the lens of reality because the testosterone is lower, and we just see things for what it is, and we're not easily persuaded through lust. And so a lot of men go through something called what's called a great divorce. It's a great divorce. And when you've lost everything you got in a system that's highly onerous to men, men will say, "Nah, I'm good. I'm not getting married no more." Get married for what? My dad is 82 years old, going on 83. I love my dad. I lost my mom last year. My mom and dad were married for almost 60 years. And it was an old school, traditional throwback love. Wasn't perfect, like all couples have their issues. But my dad spoiled my mom. But my dad, in his latter years of his life, I talk to my dad all the time because I love him. And I believe that children have a responsibility to honor their parents. Honoring your parents don't mean you don't have autonomy outside of your parents, but it's respectful to honor the elders. God will bless you for that. I didn't say if parents are doing something to hurt you, but you have to honor your parents, even if you had to do it from a distance. You should honor your parents and show them grace, show them respect, and show them dignity, because they're the ones that brought you into this world. I'm not talking about narcissistic abuse or trying to shame kids into submission. But we live in a generation now where the Bible says that children would be disobedient to parents. And it is what it is. But those people, their day is coming. Judgment is coming to them at some point if they don't humble themselves and take accountability for their bad behavior. But Dr. L is correct. Men are not taking bad deals anymore. They don't have to. Especially masculine men that are silver foxes.
Are sexless marriages outside of severe illness, abuse, and cheating?
I got married to have sex. I didn't get married to be a monk, right? So you know, once a month, once every other month. Right. I was on vacation one time.
Once every 2 months. Imagine being married to a woman, guys, and she get to dictate to you after she gets you trapped into that relationship. Now she got you for life. And, you know, outside of medical issues, even though that's no excuse, because if your cat ain't working, you can use your hand and you can get creative, and I'll leave it at that. But yes, she still expects you to pay bills and protect her and treat her special. And that's why I say, guys, if you're a single man, make sure you know what your worth is. Stand on purpose as a man. Demand the best from a woman, and do not let her shame you out of your dignity. Because we live in very strange times, man, very strange times. And I've been with my wife for over 30 years, but if I was a single man again, it would never be in America. My next wife, if I got married again, would be a foreign woman. I would never marry in America again. I ain't got time to be arguing with a woman. I ain't got time. My main focus as I'm getting older is to get closer to him and to hopefully one day see my mama again. That's what I yearn for, to see my mama and all those that died in the faith, the ancestors and also the saints. But Dr. L is right. Masculine men are not getting married based on her standards. They're getting married based on their standards.
Once every 2 months.
Listen, I've heard worse than that. I was on vacation one time, and this brother, white dude, starts talking to me and this, that, and the other. Words, you know, sitting at the.
And let me tell you something, man. If you're in a relationship where you've articulated your needs, and this silly woman is telling you it's her body and she don't have to do it, start planning your exit strategy, because she's already abandoned the marriage from a biblical perspective, in my opinion. The Bible talks about physical abandonment, but she's not loving you outside of something being wrong, or she got an attitude when she's doing it. Number one, stop paying bills. Immediately stop paying bills. Stop protecting her until she course correct and get back on par. You won't put on this planet to serve an ungrateful woman. In healthy relationships, men and women both benefit. Stop giving your graces to unworthy women. Make them earn it. If she doesn't earn it, she doesn't get it. Don't give her your non-sexual attention. Don't give her your money. Don't give her your resources. If she's giving you duty sex with a bad attitude, when she say, well, help me pay this bill, tell her that your wallet hurt. When she said, can you get these tires fixed? Tell her, my arms hurt, my head hurt, my fingers hurt. Use the same dumb excuse. Because, see, you can't keep complaining about the behavior that you're getting if you don't demand better.
We sit in the bar, and he's telling me that he was another one. Just didn't touch his wife. It wasn't a physical thing. She just didn't like that. She didn't like it mentally. She didn't like it psychologically, being heard and penetrated and somebody sweating on her and whatever, She didn't like it. But he stayed because he had one or two kids with her. And so he was just in this situation. Right. So why would a man who has been either through something like that or has something to lose take that chance again doing that? And
let me tell you something, guys. One of the worst situations I've ever seen was a man that was married to a woman, and his wife hadn't given him no intimacy in almost 20 years, which is a sign of mental abuse, psychic abuse, psychological abuse. That's abuse. And nobody talks about it because nobody cares, because the world has conditioned men to always be in the defense instead of being in the offense when it comes down to getting their needs met. It's all psychological abuse. It's all a Darvo tactic. And it's all highly manipulative. I call it cognitive dissonance at its best. I created an acronym called DEAF. And if I write my book, I'm going to put it in my book. It's called DEAF. Because that's exactly what it is. It's deaf. They cannot hear what's going on, and they don't want to see what's going on. Cognitive dissonance is a condition that happens for a myriad of reasons. Many times in modern America, men and women often do one of the following. They deny the evidence. They become enraged when you present them with the evidence. They argue to ad hominem attacks, meaning they attack the messenger instead of the message. And they will fight you or flee because they cannot hear what you are saying. And conditions such as this, tied into cognitive dissonance, often happens to those that have or lack self-awareness. They stay in a perpetual cycle of arrested development, exhibited by this. About 3 years ago, been on YouTube now about 5 years, but they're deaf. They cannot hear what you're saying. It's called cognitive dissonance. A cacophony comes from the word a loud clanging sound, almost like a jet. They can't hear or receive anything due to that, their inability to hear what you're saying due to stubbornness and also due to idolatry of feelings.
And to sign up for that. As that clip you played before said, for men with options, you're just not going to get men to sign up for that. That's not a priority. And when they talk about, here's where it goes into the second part there, is this emotional connection and this, that, and the other. That takes a lot of effort for men. And I'm saying this as a man who has spent my time in male-dominated spaces, be it the church, be it, well, it was male-dominated, but not so much anymore.
Another conversation.
All right. So let me drop this down, guys. Let's get back to this. All right. So let's get down to breaking this down real quick, guys. Some of the things this young lady and Dr. L were talking about. I'm going to speed it up a little bit too, because I'm not going to be on this platform long, guys. Share the stream, please, if you like what I'm doing. And also, if you like what I'm doing, guys, donate to the channel. But I'm going to share some of the talking points that they were talking about.
I want to know about that, but also from your vantage point with where you're at, like being divorced. I think that's a factor in dating, like whether someone wants to get married or not, things like that I want to get your view on. So let me add this clip to the stage and then we'll talk about it.
I think marriage is valuable.
I think there are a lot of men that do want to get married, but I think the question is, do men with options want to get married? Men who are financially successful want to get married? I think that's the real question. A lot of times they view it as more of a business transaction. When you grow together, I think that's a whole different story. But if you're already successful, they're looking at, how do I protect this? Is this person in it for me? Well, I tell my wife this all the time. I say, if in another lifetime I was rich and successful and I had to find somebody, I think I would play a character of someone who didn't have much. Honestly, not even put my wealth out there to see if I could get a real connection with someone.
Well, and we as women naturally feel safer when you have monetary provision, as well as other provision. Like, we're not just saying money is enough, but money is important. I think that men get really upset about monetary.
But when men flip it and say what they desire, like being feminine, virgin to low bodies, emotional intelligence, no kids by other men, utilizing self-control, understanding her solipsistic nature, then you have idiots to come on my platform and say you're misogynistic. Anytime a man says what he wants, he's misogynistic. That's how wired, that's how liberalism and liberal indoctrination, intersectionality has destroyed a lot of people's inability to think outside of their inductive pedagogy, meaning they've been inducted or infected by the pedagogy of the professors that they went to college to. They can't think outside of it. They can't think critically. They only respond because they lack emotional irregulation. And like I said, I had some of these tart brains try me, thought they would get slick with their mouth. And they don't understand that I'm a man before I'm a therapist. You're not going to get slick with your mouth. I know I shouldn't be arguing with them, but I'm petty. You get slick with your mouth, I'm coming for you. You're not going to disrespect me. And I can get very creative when you get slick with your mouth. You're not going to bully me into silence. And many times now I just block them because I understand they're mentally ill or they got mental issues, and I just block them.
Success because they feel so judged by it. But it's the same way how a woman is judged by her beauty. And we could judge till we're arguing, we could argue till we're blue in the face. The truth is, those are for most the measuring stick. For men want an aesthetic, they want a beautiful woman. For women want safety and security, and that involves monetary provision.
So there was the part at the beginning that I wanted to wanted to hone in on, which was, I'm going to just a bit of a longer clip. So I'm going to just replay just this snippet.
I think marriage is valuable.
I think there are a lot of men that do want to get married, but I think the question is, do men with options want to get married? Men who are financially successful want to get married? I think that's the real question.
And that's the question that I want to start with you, Dr. L. This question around, is marriage valuable? That's one question. But then, like, who is it valuable for, I think is another question.
Well, it's valuable under the right conditions. It's valuable when you got a generation of women to understand what their true market value is. It's valuable when she has the emotional regulation and she has the cerebralness to not see everything within her, when she can see everything by not seeing things outside of herself. It's valuable when she's your cheerleader and she goes hard in the paint for you. And she puts her family needs and your needs above everything. And then you turn around and do the same thing for her by loving her, protecting her, and dying for her. That's when it's valuable. But it's not valuable in the current system that we live in. It doesn't benefit men. It's not beneficial. It's dangerous. It's a waste. And you can lose everything you work hard for. And so I tell men, never get married under the auspices of love alone. Love is part of it, but you should never get married based on a feeling or an emotion. I tell my men all the time in therapy that you should love within reason, but you never love outside of your masculine scope or your masculine sanctum. You don't love outside of that because it can be highly deleterious to a man if he doesn't.
So could you take it away? What are your initial thoughts on that?
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good clip. I had not seen that before. You and I just watched it there. I do think that marriage is valuable, but I think it's valuable to younger people. And when I say younger people, I'm talking about those in their 20s and 30s because they want to have kids. Presumably, that's what they want to do is have kids. To an older person, and by older I mean 45 plus, presumably they've either had kids or been married, divorced, widowed, widower, etc. And so they might be looking at it in a different way. And if you have, particularly for men, because they are the breadwinners, although I understand that that's changing, if they got married, lost a lot of income or half their income or had to sell their house, etc., is marriage valuable to them? And that is
And here's the issue, guys. A true righteous woman, there's a group of women in Nigeria, and true righteous women understand that regardless of how much money that she makes, her income does not supersede the sovereignty of that man, or it doesn't supersede the dictates of the relationship. See, we live in a world in the West where the woman tells the man what masculinity is. She leads him instead of him leading her. In America, it's okay for a woman to say her money is her money, and his money is her money. That basically means that she's leading him. But the way it's supposed to be is that his money is his money, and her money is our money, meaning we're using that money for the family and also for legacy. Because many times when women get money, they don't think about family, they think about self. When men get money, they think about the family. But imagine a world where a man say that if I'm going to pay a majority of these bills, you're not going to take all that money and just stack it and do what's best for you. We're not doing that. We're going to use that money for family, investments, and also for the future. Because let me tell you something. If you don't make that woman earn the relationship, she'll never respect you as a man. You got to make her earn it. And a lot of men don't do it.
Struggle. That is the struggle. I've met a few ladies that just really hardcore die hard. I want to get married. I'm like, you know, and I'm not one of those guys who was, you know, really bitter against it. I got divorced and I didn't lose anything. I got custody of the kids and all this other stuff. So I was really fortunate. But so I'm not speaking from a place of hurt. I'm speaking from a place of practicality. Why would I risk my finances again? I'm a retired guy. I got a pension. I got all this stuff going on, and now I'm going to risk it all. And depending on where you live and how the laws are written, what can I lose, et cetera, et cetera. But to me, it's like, why even take the gamble? Why even take the risk? Why even do it? So it's really going to depend on where a person is in life, what they want out of life. And again, what value does it bring to you? What value does it bring to you? Because I want whatever I do have, I want to go to my kids. So now I got to sign all this paperwork to offset the original marriage decrees and laws.
And I think Dr. L is right. If me and my wife got a divorce, I don't want all my money and assets to go to nobody else's kids. Them ain't my kids. My DNA didn't make them kids. Because, just like those kids can grow up and tell you you're not their daddy, well, fine, you're not my biological kids. And that money going to my biological kids. I'm not using my money to put another man's kids first. My money is going to be used to take care of my own biological offspring first. And we'll negotiate somebody else's kid maybe after the fact. But he's correct. Once you get a certain age as a man, you don't care about, you're not mesmerized by sex and women and beauty. You just want to focus and live and be at peace.
People say get a prenup and all this. I got to sign all this paperwork to undo what should be done. I just feel it's an unnecessary burden. So.
I appreciate your honesty as always. You use the word that I think flags for a lot of women. I want to dive into this a little bit more because I think this is so important. It's so important for us to understand where people are coming from. And I think when you hear someone say, what's the point of getting married? There can be some assumptions made about that, but then there's all this context. And you just laid out a lot of context as to why someone would not want to get married.
And a lot of times, guys, why this conversation is so laborious, it's because we never ask men what they want. When you got a generation of women that come in by default saying that they are the prize by default, just because they got a vagina by default, that they give it to multiple men. It's nothing special about that woman. Women of my mother's generation were better women, so therefore they were special in my opinion. My grandmother, my mom, my aunts, they were special women because there was a level of dignity and honor before the advent of the free love movement. So what Dr. L is doing is, as you get older as a man, you become more pragmatic, and the things that matter to you in your 20s, it doesn't matter. That's why younger men need older mentors if they'll listen, and listen to older mentors that are not old fools, but seasoned OGs like myself.
You use the word practicality, like thinking about it from a practical sense. I think in general, of course it is not everybody, but I do think in general, women, and I wonder for you, Dr. L, tell me what you think, because what are you experiencing with women who are older? Are women, even when they're older, is it still more of like a romantic idea of getting married? Or do you see any shift into the practicality where someone's more open to hearing like why I wouldn't or why I wouldn't, having more of like a let's say rational conversation about whether we should even do this?
Did you know there's a way to become your own bank with the right life insurance policy? It's called Indexed Universal Life Insurance. Like all life insurance, IULs provide.
Yeah, so I've run into some.
And guys, if you like what I'm doing, share the stream, donate to the channel, get the likes up. Thank you.
Who have talked about the romantic aspects of it, finding your person, finding the love of your life, et cetera, et cetera. I've also run into some ladies who were very religious and that just needed to be done. This is something that we do, and I just need to be in this type of relationship, particularly if we're going to be intimate. So I run into those. Those are the two types that I run into for those who are really, really hard pressed. Like it's either marriage or nothing. So that's what I run into. So
how do you manage that, or have you in the past?
Well, it's been nothing.
Right. He's right. It's nothing. How do you manage it? Nothing, because I'm not doing it. You're not going to dictate the mandates of the relationship. I don't knock a woman for saying if you're not going to marry me, then she's going to let that woman go on with her life. But you ain't going to make me feel pressure to get married. Because let me tell you something, guys, what a lot of them do once you say I do, the mask come off. And she got you now. And if she decides not to give you intimacy, if she decides to file for divorce, you're trapped. And that's why a lot of men are saying, I'm good, and I don't blame them. Don't blame them at all. I worked too hard to get where I've gotten at for years. I would never give everything I worked over for years to a woman. I don't care how pretty you are, that mess don't mean anything to me. Looks fade with time. The thing that's most important to me is my bank account. Well, first is God, my bank account, and then peace. And my bank account is rising precipitously. So, I mean, marriage, this is a longer conversation. I really wish we could really dive into this, but marriage, there's certain expectations that I have in marriage. And when those expectations aren't met, you are trapped in that marriage. And that's not something I'm going to allow myself to be trapped into again. Yes, sir.
I know word trapped.
I know. And I use it very sparingly, but I think it's accurate. Now, I'm not saying that the woman is intentionally.
And Dr. L is right. Cardinal Smith came over with a book. Shout out to my brother Cardinal Smith, called Trapped by Law. And men are trapped. Once you say I do, you're trapped. You don't have any, a lot of women talk about women being trapped in the past because granddaddy, great granddaddy had all the money. Well, guess what? Women got the power now. And they don't give the same grace that they complain about in their trauma narratives about men. If a man get married to a woman now, he's trapped. Even if he get a prenup, whether it be comprehensive or not. A lot of times, some states don't honor the prenup. He's trapped. And so until the laws change, until those women that want to get married go on Capitol Hill and demand to legislators to change the laws, men are not getting married. I'm not against marriage. Let me be very clear. I think marriage is beautiful with the right conditions and the right woman, but the conditions don't benefit men. At the advent of no-fault divorce, it hasn't been beneficial for a man to get married. Not advantageous at all.
Trapping, but there's a sense of being stuck, of being unable to leave, and that is something that I don't want.
Shout out to the homie, Dr. L. Shout out to my brother, Dr. L.
Talking about some of the instances of sitting around the room with some elderly women, hearing their experiences about being married, and rightfully so. The women who were abused passed on their thoughts about being with a man that you couldn't get rid of, and so therefore they said, or couldn't escape from, more accurately. So they said, when to their daughters and granddaughters, don't be in a situation, get your own money, et cetera, et cetera. Well, I mean, the same goes for men too, because if you're in a marriage that's sexless or loveless or lack of affection and everything else that as a man, I'm going to come from the male perspective, that a man is looking for. I mean, who wants to sign up for that? I don't want to come home and have to beg for food, beg for other things. I don't want to do that.
Yeah. It's really not funny either. It's not funny.
It's not. And well, I'll just leave it there.
For you, because you were married before. So what, and you specifically mentioned like for the people in their 20s and 30s who want to have children. So do you think that is like for you, and do you even think for, let's say, men in general, is the idea of having children, like, do you think that is the, I don't even know the word for it, like the thing that makes marriage like worth it, like valuable? Or do you see any other reasons why someone?
Shout out to my man, Dr. L. Dr. L, know he got that. Dr. L got that seasoned seed. That seed is seasoned. Dr. L got that seasoned seed from the early 70s, man. They said with an older man, if he's healthy, eat clean, he got that seasoned wood. So you got that seasoned seed, Dr. L. You still gonna make some healthy babies, man. Shout out to Dr. L.
Would get married from your perspective?
From a male perspective, no, I don't. There may be some, but I just haven't heard it. If it was not for marriage, I mean, maybe from a religious aspect, because you're not supposed to have sex outside of marriage. So let's just say, people are infertile or whatever, and they said, okay, we still want to get married for religious reasons. Okay, I can actually probably get with that. But from a male perspective, I mean, there's no reason for me to get married because I want to build a legacy, and I know that this is a growing sentiment. I've heard a couple of other, I don't know if you talked about it, but somebody else I heard was talking about this, that I know who it was. I'm not gonna say it, but somebody else had said the same thing about men are not this idea of legacy is no longer going to work anymore to get men to get from a female perspective. If the reason we're going to get married is because the man wants to have legacy, then that's not going to be good enough. The woman in that particular case, what she was saying was that the women want emotional bonding and other things. That ain't gonna work. That ain't gonna work for a lot of men. It may work for some men. I don't have any numbers, but it ain't gonna work.
This is so interesting. And was it the podcast that I was on yesterday with Montoya, the mental dialogue podcast? We were literally just talking about this yesterday about legacy and love. He made a comments about it, and we talked this very thing. I said, this is one of these, let's just say a gap between men and women right now around this thing that needs to be reconciled. Are you marrying for legacy or are you marrying for love? And like you said, I think there are a lot of men who would say that
most men marry for legacy. We're not saying, listen, duty / obligation and legacy comes before love. Listen, what I've learned with human beings is that human beings tend to reverence something more better or reverence something more intently when they have to earn it. The women of old understood that duty and obligation superseded love and their feelings. You grew to love. You grew stronger in love due to struggle. And that's what curated Black love in the past. But it's not curated now because these heifers get married for love. And when they stop loving you, then they want a divorce. So I don't believe in getting married for no love. I'm not saying you can't love, but I don't care about love. I care about legacy. And at my age now, I will never get married again. I already got my kids. I'm a granddad. And got young daughters home, college and high school. So, I mean, unless I was a single man trying to get a younger woman to have a son, but I'm good. I don't want to be no more kids in this wicked world. This world is crazy, man.
The same thing that you're saying, that the emotional attachment, emotional connection, the emotional experience, I think is the way that I'm talking about it right now. That just covers all of the emotional stuff in a relationship. The emotional experience is not prioritized for men, generally speaking, as much as it is for women. And women right now are pushing the gas on the emotional experience. They are pushing it. It's like men need to raise their emotional intelligence, raise their emotional maturity, raise the emotional standard for the relationship. So I wonder, and I think this is, maybe it's kind of linked into what we're going to talk about with these other clips as well. But do you have any ideas about?
So imagine if men are, like Taylor saying, women are expecting men to raise their emotional intelligence, but however, conversely, they're not emotional intelligent. Because if you're going to demand emotional intelligence from men, then men got a right to demand chastity from you, emotional regulation from you, low bodies to virginal women from you. See, it ain't fun when the rabbit got the gun. You know, they can always have their high demands. You need to be emotional intelligent. But I will argue that men have been conditioned to be emotional intelligent and to be slaves to happy wife, happy life. the show I talked about with my man James Dunlap on last week. And because of that, who really needs to be the emotional intelligent one? Because if women were really emotional intelligent, then they would know what men want. The OJ's guys wrote a song back in the day, back in the 70s. Some of y'all weren't even born back then. And I was a little boy. And that song by the OJ's said, you got to give the people what they want. You got to give men what they want if you want to be happy. The world has forgotten to ask men what they want because they always are giving, are telling men, or they have always been conditioned to believe from childhood that their worth is inherently greater than a man, and it's not, because the scripture, whether you look at it from an anthropological perspective, woman came out of man, man didn't come out of woman. So to those women that are into what's called goddess worship, which is Luciferian, and they said that the woman is the creator of life, she's not the creator of life, man is the creator of life. The seed of man determines the life of a child, the gender of a child, not the woman. The woman is just an incubator. If you know, woman came out of man, the first human being, the woman came out of him. And every offspring after that came out of the woman from the seed of man. But they don't want to talk about that because they want to be above the man. And so, once again, if you're asking men to be emotional intelligent, which I think a lot of men have been, because most men now are drones, and they're drones to a psychological condition that's tied into Marxism called egalitarian relationships. Now, the new zeitgeist or the new nomenclature of modern society calls men and women partners. I don't believe in that. I know that some people use that word loosely. They don't mean anything by it. There's a clear delineation of who's the husband, who's the leader. But see, this partner phenomenon basically says that I want a husband when it comes down to doing the heavy lifting in the labor and the provision and the protection. But I want a partner when it comes down to power. And no woman can damn tell me about being emotionally intelligent. You got some of these women that tell men they're going to put them in a doghouse. I wish a woman would try to put me in a doghouse. I would blow that doghouse up. I wish a woman would damn talk about she going to put me in a doghouse. I'm in the doghouse, or you going to sleep on the couch. If I bought the bed and I'm in the house, I'm going to sleep on my bed. You can go downstairs, but you're not going to dictate to me where I'm going to damn sleep. I'm going to sleep on my bed. If anything, you're going to be the doghouse. And my whole point is men got to start standing up and speaking truth to power. I'm not against loving a woman and being emotionally smart, but I would argue most men are. I would argue that men have always been emotionally intelligent. Because see, when a man loves a woman, there was a song called When a Man Loves a Woman. Men study women, and they study the women that they love. Men were the arbitrators of love and relationship. If you go by astrology, men would be on the planet Venus. Not that I go by that, because Venus is the symbol of love, even though it's astrology and I don't believe it. So we're not going to let no woman, talk about emotional intelligence. Look at the annals of time and history. Men have always, most men, I would say, we know some are not, but I would say most have always knew how to woo a woman. Jeffrey Osborne wrote a song back in the day said, when you woo, woo, woo. We understood the importance of wooing women. That's why women back then loved men so much, because men have always studied to understand women and to impress her, to make her feel special. That's emotional intelligence. But you ask the typical woman, what does the man want? They don't know. So who's really emotionally unintelligent?
How this is going to, I have two questions. How do you think this might be reconciled? And what's your forecast? What's your prediction for how this is, like, how this is going to play out in the near future?
The structure motorized pergola system is reinventing the way homeowners experience the outdoors. The most versatile.
So my forecast is that that's not going to work with the masculine men, because that is not something that I'm looking for in a relationship. Now, certainly it would be nice if I walked into my house and my wife greeted me, oh, baby, I missed you, this, that, and the other. That would be great. I'm not saying that men don't want any type, or certainly myself don't want any type of emotional connection. I think that's certainly necessary. But as far as marriage and intertwining, and when we talk about marriage, I'm assuming we're talking about intertwining our lives with the state. And so you're not going to get a lot of masculine men to sign up for that. As that clip you played before said, for men with options, you're just not going to get men to sign up for that. That's not a priority. And when they talk about here's where it goes into the second part. There is this emotional connection and this, that, and the other. That takes a lot of effort for men. And I'm saying this as a man who has spent my time in male-dominated spaces, be it the church, be it, well, it was male-dominated, but not so much anymore. I have a lot of male friends, obviously, and my time in the police department. And I talk to these guys, right? We would talk to the fire guys, fire department personnel. We would just talk and just chop it up. And that is not a priority with them. And it takes a lot of emotional effort on the man's part to meet these needs. And I'm going to say something that's going to be really crazy. It can be torturous. It could be torturous.
My goodness.
It can be torturous to listen to on a daily basis your day. I'm not saying it shouldn't happen. Not saying that men shouldn't be concerned. But listen, baby, I gotta tell you, somebody stole my Pepsi. I had a refrigerator, and my boss did this, and the security guard didn't do that. And can you please somebody park in my spot? This, and I had a deadline. Okay, because men are because men are fixers. And if you're telling us this, we all the time we want to be able to fix the problem. Well, maybe park in a different place, or maybe take a different bus, or and if it's just if it's being used as an emotional sponge, just to kind of, it's not gonna. I don't see it working in the long term. So I think that you're going to have a hard time, in particular, for mature men who have substance, who have something, their own homes, at least homes, cars, 401ks. Maybe they have their own kids. They've got their legacy, got their finances. They're not going to sign up for that. I just don't see it.
This is definitely a layered conversation that has to continue, because I know that there are women who are going to hear that depiction and think that's not what I'm trying to do. When I'm saying, so I think we have to continue this conversation around what does it mean to be like emotionally present in a relationship, and we need more specifics around that so that men are clear. Now, I do think that in some cases what you're depicting is absolutely happening, and that's totally exhausting.
Oh, it's absolutely happening.
Yeah,
it's absolutely. And I'm glad that you said. And
I think the young lady is correct. Taylor is correct. It is definitely layers to it, and it definitely needs to be better articulated. And I don't think most men mind giving it to the right woman, but you're not going to dictate and arbitrate the relationship based on your physical emotions either. Because if you're expecting me to have a level of allure, then you need to have the same thing. And a lot of men don't demand what they want anymore. Like she demands what she wants. I don't have a problem with fair exchange. Don't have a problem with it. I'm not against men romanticizing their woman and treating their woman good. I believe in it. But I don't believe it should come at the expense of a man's peace and her not understanding or lacking the requisite emotional intelligence to understand where that man is coming from too. It's a two-way street. And I would argue that most women don't understand men. They just think men want some cat and that's it. And that's part of it. But men are simple, but men are not simple, if that makes sense.
That because whenever I press anyone about this, you can't get an answer to it. And I am a very concrete, literal thinker. Yes. You got to tell me what you mean. Yes. And I don't know what these nebulous terms mean. So you have to spell it out for me. So I'm glad you said that.
So that's something that I definitely have to work, that I work with clients on, is being very, like, essentially I help people, particularly women that have this kind of issue where you need to be able to communicate. When you say that I want to be heard, you have to be able to walk someone through it as if it should be so clear that they have a manual to you. Like they know exactly what to do in order to effectively help you to feel heard. You say you want to feel seen. How, practically speaking, what things actually need to happen that would help someone to feel seen. So I think there is a lot. It is definitely usually left really ambiguous, and that's frustrating. And then men often get labeled as being like emotionally immature when there's actually and maybe that is the case, but sometimes it's not being articulated well enough for someone to follow the instructions, even if they wanted to. So I think that we have to get a lot more specific about what it means for someone to be like emotionally mature, emotionally present, and that kind of thing. Sometimes also what could be happening is like a woman saying that she wants someone emotionally present, and that just means like to effectively relay that you care at all, or that you have some level of empathy. And sometimes a man's hitting that mark, sometimes he's not. This is a big conversation, but I think this is an important one because it's coming up a lot. It's coming up a lot.
We are missing each other in this day and time. We are definitely missing each other.
Oh yeah.
And you have articulated very well, because there is a certain level of frustration. And listen, if you don't give me the manual, I'm either going to build it myself, and I'm going to miss you and what you need. And again, what I've run into is I just went by, I need to be heard and seen, etc. Is just be there for me and just listen to what I'm saying. Okay. Well, now we're back to being tortured.
So I appreciate you being real about this. We need to, it's definitely highlighting this is a big gap between men and women, and it's a very vague issue that we need more clarity, more concreteness. And I agree, women cannot rely on these words that heard, seen, even loved. It needs to be clarified, like what needs to happen in order for you to feel that way consistently.
There's a clip of, I know you want to move on, but there's a clip of Tisha Campbell, who was the actress there, who was talking about this, that she had never felt loved her whole life. I'm like, you were in a marriage with Martin, whatever his name is, whatever his name is. And I'm like, What do you, again, what do you mean? What are you talking about? This man never showed up for you. He never held your hair back when you were thrown up in the toilet. What are you saying?
Yeah, it's I cannot stop talking about this because it's incredible. People will get wholly divorced and be like, and I've had men like as clients and even just knowing in life be like, I still don't know what she was talking about. Like when she said I wasn't doing this or that, it's like I was doing all these things, and you say I never saw you, and so there's just, I mean, the lack of clarity. Among other, I think probably we can name other things as well, but just the lack of clarity alone has such truly dire consequences. Like we cannot afford to just be throwing out these vague like pop psychology words and think that it's going to like actually create some kind of change in a relationship. So I want to move on to these clips around telling your partner the truth, okay? Because let's just play the clips.
Ask your grandfather, how does he stay married so long? He'll tell you, happy wife, happy life, because she prioritizes happiness. Not once does that say, keep it real with a young blood. They love that shit. Just be honest with her and everything will work itself out.
Yeah.
No, if she's happy, congratulations. Nigga, you get to be married.
And guys, that's why I fundamentally many times repudiate. Many times we know that some men abuse power and money, and some of the women of that generation were trapped. Like men of this generation is trapped by law, shout out to Carnell Smith, and trapped by divorce court and paternity fraud. But a lot of black men back then, especially boomers, believed in happy wife, happy life. And so when people tell these trauma slave narratives, even though we know some of it is true, no nuance is added to it. And in this blank picture that men were bad, women had no voice, and they just controlled everything. And most black men and black women at that time were coming up together in the struggle. And so I know a lot of men that have been victims of a happy wife, happy life.
Married a little longer. That's how it works. And they get happiness. They get happiness, fellas, because they prioritize happiness. So make sure that they're happy. Because once they're happy, then in return, you still don't get happiness.
Hey, if you are a man over 40, you need to know that only 3% of men can actually date women like me.
It don't work like that.
And that's what I was talking about. He's always putting his needs at the behest of her emotions and her feelings, and she demands emotional intelligence, but yet she has none when it comes down to his needs. Guys, hit the like button, donate to the channel, and share the stream, please. Thank you.
Is that okay? So
Ask your grandfather, how does he stay married so long? He'll tell you, happy wife, happy life, because she prioritizes happiness. Not once does that say, keep it real with a young blood. They love that shit.
Initial thoughts?
Yeah, I definitely agree with that. I mean, having been married, yeah, it's definitely a situation where you got to keep your wife happy. You can't tell her what happened in your day. You can't tell her about the toilet needs to be fixed and this, that, and the other. You just got to kind of do it and try to manage her emotions. And then they, to go back to the previous conversation, then have the nerve, the gall, and the audacity to say that men are emotionally intelligent. I mean, we understand that if we don't keep you happy, then the whole entirety of the household can be upset. So men have gained this understanding that we have to tiptoe around.
And I think that's wrong. I think that's wrong from a very anthropological perspective, because women don't respect men that always constantly bow to their whims. It becomes a time when a man got to put his foot down and say, look, I don't care what you say, woman. Your emotion is not going to come at the expense of my peace. I'm not against a man loving his woman, but I wish a woman would try to tell me about some happy wife, happy life. That would never work on my clock. My personality is too strong. I don't even bow to men, and I'm definitely ain't going to bow to a woman. I wish a woman would try that with me. I wish she would try that with me. I get Bruno Mars, don't believe me, just watch. And Dr. L is correct. I hadn't even got to this part. But men really are the ones that have emotional intelligence, because we've been conditioned from the cradle to overcompensate to her needs and her emotions.
In order to make sure that the house continues to function and that there's not pots and pans being slammed and etc. And some people are saying, I have a friend of mine from the Faith and Justice podcast who also does some Christian counseling. He talks about happy spouse, happy house. In other words, the man has to be as equally as happy as well. I think that's fine. We can talk about that, but the truth of the matter is, having been there, you got to keep that woman happy. And I'm not saying that in some symbology type of way. I'm saying that this is something that a man now has to get to the place where he says, my happiness, my contentment, my sanity, my peace is more important than bending over backwards and jumping over hoops to try to satisfy someone who may never ever be satisfied because we now understand the
can never be happy. Let me tell you y'all a dirty secret. Maybe I'll put this on Patreon. Yeah, maybe I'll put this for the members only. But when a woman earns your love and respect and she knows that you could leave her, that's when she's happy because she's serving you. And when she's serving you makes her happy. And then when she serves you, then you turn around and serve her back and reciprocate. But if you're constantly serving her without making her earn it, psychologically, it's a concept called contraindication. She's really looking down on you. I call it simp psychology. We think that by doing that, it makes her love, but no, it doesn't. It actually makes her lose respect for you. At the very base or very primordial anthropological level, women by nature respect power and strength. If you're not exuding power and strength, she's not going to respect it. And let me tell you something, I'm a romantic. I believe in romance. I'm very creative. I study women. Even though I grew up in the church, I could be a bad boy if I wanted to. I'm very funny, I'm very creative, I'm very intelligent, and I know how to woo a woman. But I'm not going to woo no woman at the expense of my peace. I don't care about that nonsense.
The more you try to satisfy, the more steps you take, the more money you spend, whatever it is, there is no bottom to this. There is no, it never levels out. It'll always be something else, always be something more, a bigger house, a bigger, spend more money on the cars. It'll always be some type of comparative analysis going on here. And so therefore I've adopted the mantra that, comparison is the thief of joy. So you have to keep it pushing. Men are now starting to prioritize themselves. And so again, if I'm going to be a 45-plus-year-old guy and I'm going to get married, I'm going to look at and say to myself, what am I going to have to do to keep her happy, keep her emotions, keep her in this even keel? Because we don't want to see our women in that situation.
I think women across the board have to just take these testimonies seriously. I think that women have to take these situations seriously because when we're hearing enough people, and at this point, it's enough people that have about the same story, there's something going on here.
And the crazy thing is, this young lady, shout out to her, Taylor, they come out against her. She's trying to be the pragmatist, the logical one, the fair and balanced one. But many times they'll sell her too. Because they have been highly infected by their liberal indoctrination and that professor who has infected them with a pedagogical worldview that's antithetical to common sense, reason, and rationality. And so it becomes a waste of time to even talk to them. I don't even argue with those kind of people anymore because they're mentally ill. It's a waste of time talking to them.
So I think that, I'm really big in the nuance of conversations. So I think that the woman who does not fall in that depiction is a very rare woman. And I find that the woman who isn't looking to her man to make her happy is a very purposeful, a very purpose-driven woman. And I don't think we're not. I'm trying to be nice. I try to be so nice on the internet. I'm trying to be so nice. But that is just not, that is not we're not anywhere close to that being, 51% of women are not there. And so that's when we start.
And she's correct. I think Taylor's correct. I think that woman is more synonymous to women that have on the baseline virtues, more synonymous to a Proverbs 31 woman. Even that type of woman was rare in biblical times. But women of the past strive to exude virtues of a Proverbs 31 woman. They're not doing it now. Guys, if you like what I'm doing, show some love to the channel because I'm going to end this thing in a few minutes. I got to go. But it's never enough.
Hearing the conversation like, well, your person can't be everything to you. And yet a lot of people, maybe inadvertently, a lot of women, especially then typically not men doing this, typically women doing this, who are looking to her boyfriend, fiance, husband to be her entertainment, to be her fun, to be her hobby, to be her interest, to be the happiness for her. And it is truly an unwinnable game. It's not possible. It's just literally not possible for someone to produce those feelings for you in perpetuity. And it's like, I think we can have happy experiences with people. We can do something and we're both happy when we're doing it. But like, you are not my happiness. I don't even think women often even realize that they're doing it.
And the young Taylor once again is correct. A lot of modern women see men as like a jack-in-the-box simp. You ever seen a jack-in-the-box where you just wind it up, dun 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 dun? I might do a show on that called the jack-in-the-box simp. And the jack-in-the-box simp always is performing for her fickle emotions. It's always performative masculinity that's non-beneficial to the man. I call it the Jack in the Box simp. Shout out to my man Ray Johnson, man, showing some love, man. Man, Ray is my dog. Ray was #1 last week. Ray Johnson showing some love, man. Shout out to the big homie Ray Johnson, all the way from the West Coast, like they say, California. Shout out to my man Ray Johnson for that $15 super chat, man. Shout out to that brother, as he is the #1 sponsor of the stream. Shout out to brother Ray Johnson, all the way from the West Coast, showing love. Thank you so much.
It's the money.
Shout out to Ray Johnson for showing love, as he's the #1 sponsor. Don't let Ray be the only one, guys. Ray has been a stand-up brother, got nothing but love for that brother, and I respect him highly for always showing love. Thank you, Ray.
I don't think they even realize they're doing it. I think men are more maybe like on alert for that happening, and I think women are just kind of like thinking that it's a part of the expectations of the relationship, and not even necessarily discerning that I am looking to you to produce an emotional experience in me that actually I'm responsible for.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. That was definitely well said. And I think the reason that men are sensitive to that is because when you come to us and tell us that you're bored, that means I have to stop what I'm doing and entertain you somehow. And that is unfair to me. I have a lot of hobbies. I enjoy what I'm doing. I'm never bored. And so, to have to come in there and be this be all end all, this entertainer, this person who listens to you and gives you advice and everything else that we talked about and everything else we mentioned, and look for everything to come from this one particular person. That's another thing that I've had to weigh out myself and say, why was it always fair for me to have to be this person that does everything? And I had to re-examine myself. And I need a woman who is self-sufficient, who is smart, educated, and can entertain herself, can go read a book, has a hobby. I mean, if you can't do those things,
And I think Dr. L is right. Everyone should come into the relationship with a level of self-sufficiency. He's 100% correct. It's not a man's responsibility to be the cure-all to a woman. We're not saying we can't show some love, but that woman needs to come in with a level of self-sufficiency. That's not incumbent of the man. She needs to come in with a level of self-sufficiency, because what happens, that relationship no longer becomes symbiotic, it becomes parasitic. You got to come in with a level of happiness. It's not your husband's responsibility or your wife's responsibility to make you 100% happy. You got to have a way to self-regulate and self-soothe, because men always trying to gesticulate to that woman, he's going to deal with burnout at some point. And I'm not doing, at this age, at 55, 4, I'm not doing that goofy mess. I could care less. You can get mad. You can leave if you want to. I don't care about that goofy mess.
Because I can't be your entertainment. I mean, I'm making podcasts. I gotta edit stuff. I gotta read a lot of things, right? To keep up with not only being an adjunct professor. I gotta read a lot. I have to, and then I'm doing these podcasts. I have to read, and that takes time. And I can't sit there entertaining you and watching movies all day. I just can't do that. So.
Yeah. So when you're in your dating experiences now, for you personally, does that even come up? Does this issue even show itself in dating for you? Or do you think that it comes like after someone's more locked in and then like in long-term relationship? Where do you see this issue showing up like in the arc of a relationship?
I dare you to let me build you a completely free e-commerce store, preloaded.
I tend to show up early in my instances because it's I texted you, didn't text me back in a reasonable amount of time, and I started leaving my phone in another room because I get phone calls and text messages, and so I can't get my stuff done. So I started leaving in another room. It shows up in and sometimes I'll tell you, listen, I need a man who caters to me. I need a man who's there for me. I need a man who's going to listen to me, and those are all key and buzzwords to me. I'm not saying that I'm not going to listen or whatever, but it comes off as this neediness. It comes off as and again, like, what were you doing before we met? I mean, didn't you have a life before? We just met last week, and now you want to have these kind of conversations. So it kind of causes some triggering aspects to me. And I it's not one, because somebody says it one time doesn't mean I'm going to, stop talking to them. But eventually time goes on, needing to talk all the time. I've never been, I can remember being 14 years old, sitting on the phone in agony because I wanted to play some video games as a 14-year-old kid, or go to the park with my boys. And I got to sit on the phone, right? So to me today, like, I'm in my 50s. Okay, just come over. I mean, why are we sitting on the phone? Just come over. Particularly after we've gotten to know each other in this particular place. So there's a lot that can be said about how you can detect these types of things early on in the relationship.
It's interesting because I think this is really it's connected to the conversation, the earlier part of our conversation here tonight, because I can often when I'm having this conversation, I'm thinking about how people are hearing it, and I'm like, okay, this is what people are going to catch. This is what's going to kind of like flare up in someone, and I could hear how this can sound conflicting for women. So I want to get some clarity here, because if a woman's like, okay, I am sharing what I need, I am telling you, that I need a man to text me back in this time frame. Okay, I am being specific. That's how I feel valued. That's how I feel prioritized, right? Like, how can you any advice or wisdom?
Well, I don't think there's nothing wrong with that. There's some nuance to that. Once that man set regulations, I don't have a problem with a woman saying, I like for you to, give me some details about texting her back within a certain time. Like if I was dating a woman, she called me and said, I hope that you text me back by tomorrow. If I like her, I don't really have a problem with that. But I think what Dr. L is saying, if you're a busy man and you're on your purpose and you're on your grind, a woman needs to be more understanding. So it's all about nuance, and then it depends on how needy she is. If she's needy and don't have a life, and then ain't nobody got time for that. But I don't believe that a man, if he say he loves a woman, should be gone for 48 hours without communicating with her either. I don't believe that either. I think sufficient time is within 24 hours if you really like her. But, so those conversations got to be had. This nuance needs to be added. So I don't have a problem with that in theory, but it needs to be nuanced.
For a woman in this case where she is articulating that what it is that she needs in order to feel all the things she needs to feel to be satisfied in this relationship, but then it's met with like, well, that's needy. How does she manage those two things?
Okay, that's a good question. I guess I'm assuming that we're not talking about the good morning text, right? With some women want that, some women don't want that. So, or grand rising text or whatever. So I can appreciate expressing your needs, and I think that you have to express your needs. And I use needs very reluctantly because it's really just desires or wants. You're not gonna fall down and die if I don't text you back within 20 minutes or whatever. So I think that you can express them and leave it up to the individual as to whether they can meet it or not. And I think that now more than ever, as I talk about men and their happiness and what they need, are expressing themselves like never before and saying, listen, I can't do that. And even my cousin, who is a little bit older than me, female, she said to me, you got to tell these women you're not that guy. I mean, you just got to tell them that. And so I have kind of adopted that. Listen, I'm just not that guy. I am working. A lot of times, people, when I tell people what I do and they recognize I'm, retired and I can move around as I want. Sometimes I just hang out. I lay down, take naps at 11 o'clock. I do what I want. Right. So they interpret that as saying, well, he's not doing anything. We just call him up and just text him all day. No, I'm doing what I want to do. Number one. And number two, I do actually work. I have to, again, correct papers and do other things, read and whatever. So therefore, this is a long way of saying you have to put it out there, what you want, desire, and what make you feel connected, and let the man decide what he's going to do. Again, let me just end this off with, if the man decides, if it's not the man for you, then you just got to kind of leave it there. Men, again, are saying, this is what I need, this is what I want, and here's how I'm moving in the world. And particularly for the successful men, this is how I'm moving in the world. I'm not going to be at your beck and call for every text message. I'm not going to be at your beck and call for every phone call. I'm just not going to be there in that way. I'll meet you when I can meet you. I'll do what I can and do. But this other type of thing, if you need 20 phone calls a day. I was dating a woman one time, and she would call me every single break. Oh, listen, I had 10 minutes. I just wanted to call you. I'm like, come on now.
I like what he said. That's what I was saying. Nuance needs to be added to it. That's what I'm talking about. I think I'm not against calling you a woman, but you calling me a bunch of times throughout the day. I don't have time to talk to you. I'm busy. I'll make time for you when I'm free. But you call me every 10 minutes, want to talk every 30. Man, come on, you're wasting my time, man. Come on now.
Yeah. Yeah, putting it out there and seeing where he is able to meet that or not, and then you as the woman need to determine how you're going to manage that gap if there is a gap. I think that to the point about purpose and a purpose-driven woman, maybe a woman just that has more things going on and something she really cares about. I think there are a lot of women that don't. Now this is going to contradict the majority narrative out there, but we're just going to say it. I got to work on not being so nice on the internet and just saying some things. But this is like the majority narrative or the prevailing narrative that there are so many like successful women that just have a bunch of things going on. I don't think that is necessarily the case, or you might have a lot of things going on, but it's not really meaningful to you as a woman. And so then if you don't know what it's like to be engaged with really meaningful work, you might have a lot of work going on, but it might not be really meaningful work, really like purpose-driven work. It's hard, I think, for women to relate to a man who doesn't necessarily need a bunch of meaning in his work, but he's doing a lot of work. Where women, if it's not meaning in their work, they're looking for meaning. Let me try to be clear. I don't know if I've ever made this point before, so I'm trying to get my words together. Women are looking for meaning. I don't think they are looking for meaning as much. They're doing a lot of work, and it doesn't necessarily need to be this like heart-driven work. When women are...
Have you ever seen a cherry tree that can be planted now and harvested in April? Introducing the latest agricultural breakthrough developed jointly by Yale University and other American universities, a special self-pollinating cherry tree seedling.
Well, I think the men would get their meaning in work. I think the women are looking for meaning through connection. So women are maybe working, but it's not meeting their emotional needs. Men are getting their needs met through work. I enjoyed being a police officer. I enjoy. There's people out there who enjoy being construction workers. I'm talking about men. Enjoy being truck drivers. They enjoy it. This is. I'm free to roam the road.
I guess what I've heard a lot is that men would do something because it essentially like fulfills a practical function. Like it's not necessarily like it doesn't necessarily need to be like a, again, like maybe heart rooted in like who my identity or my heart or some like bigger thing. That's sort of what I'm saying.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying, and I still agree with what I'm agreeing with what I said, and that if they don't do it through their work fulfillment, then they also would have hobbies. So a lot of guys tinker with cars or whatever. So that type, and again, whatever it is that they're doing, it still would not be meeting some type of longing, emotional type of need. And I think that's a grand difference in how men and women just are different. And, some guys just enjoy bass fishing and whatever. They just enjoy that thing, and that makes them, when they're not at work, that makes them feel whole and fulfilled. They don't have to sit around walking around with their women in the mall holding their purses.
And there was a time, guys, in hunter-gatherer society where men would galvanize one another. Many times we would go off to war or going off to hunt. We shared stories. The barbershop was a place where men were centered and grounded, and they could talk freely. Now the barbershops have been invaded by women. It's like every man's space that men had as their sanctum or as their place of rest or as their place to reflect. It's been invaded by women. You look at NBA shows now; they got to have a woman co-host or a woman host. Men can't have no spaces. You don't see men on The View trying to run the women's show. Women got shows. Men don't try to be a co-host on a woman's show, but women got to always somehow, because she struggled with penis envy, be the front and center in men's shows, taking away their sovereignty as men.
This is why she goes and tries on dresses. That's just not what men are designed to do, particularly masculine.
Yeah, so all humans search for meaning, but I'm talking specifically in work. It might not necessarily be in work. Okay, so if women don't have meaning in their life, if they're not finding it, then most of the time they are looking for it through the relationship. And so,
I agree, and I think that this is one of the big things that women are missing is this type of familial relationship, whether it's with their children, because a lot of them are putting off having children, and or not partnered up in some way, so they're missing that, so they're craving that, where it's not so much in men. So I definitely agree with you. I think we're on the same page with that.
Yeah, we are definitely hearing that. So essentially there's like an appetite for that like depth of connection, that like to plug into something. Women want to plug into something. It's not a bad thing at all. That's just like in our nature. And so then when you're trying to plug into your man and he doesn't have that same, the plugs aren't the same. The plugs are not the same. He's not trying to plug into you like that. And so then
maybe later on in the night.
Well,
we know Dr. L trying to plug in.
Right.
And when he's not approaching the relationship that way, or even seems like as happy to be walking in the mall holding your hand, because like that's not where a lot of men, particularly masculine men, is going to be getting his like meaning and happiness from.
Agreed.
It's a misunderstanding. It's a big misunderstanding.
Yeah, and so right, we're not gonna get our meaning from that, but I think when a man really loves a woman, I don't mind doing that. Like I said, I'm very romantic. It was a woman that I care about. She's a woman that wowed me. I'm very romantic. I'm very funny. I'm very creative. But I ain't got time to do that all day because I'm busy. I'm on my purpose as a man. But I don't mind serenading a woman either. I mean, it just depends on the man and his time and what season of his life he's in. I was more like that in my 20s, but as I'm getting older, not that I won't do it, but that's not as important in my life now.
I often think about, and I've read a few, I'm no evolutionary psychologist, by trade or anything, but I read a few things, and I think about the times on the plains of Africa or wherever people, ancient peoples were living, and the men were off in war, men were off hunting big game, men were off doing, whatever. And if we came home at night and sat by the campfire, told some stories, right? There was no need for all this constant communication between them. We just understood what it was. And so now that this new thing has arisen within modern society that is really causing us to have these conflicts. Well, you ought to be meeting these needs. Why? Because no longer sitting around the campfire, no longer the women are no longer engaged with other women, sewing baskets or hunt or doing the gathering while the men are doing the hunting, right? So we're at a conflict here, and it's growing. Women are now engaged in more out of the home activities, bossing up, CEOs, etc. But they still have that longing inside of them for this deep-rooted connection, where the men, on average, don't.
Let's move on to the next clip. Last clip here, y'all, and then we'll start to wrap up.
What is the underlying thread that you always see as it pertains to people who have got a divorce? What is the underlying thread that you always see as it pertains to people who have got a divorce or just going through it in their relationship? What's missing?
communication. People don't feel like they have a safe space to actually say that which they desire. A lot of people just afraid to just say it. They'd be like, man, if I tell her, she's gonna trip out. If I tell him, his ego may be bruised. But and if people can literally sit down and have conversations and be like, this is what I need, and tell that person that, and that person be able to receive it and say, let's love you from a sacrificial standpoint. It can't be about what, because when I look back over my past marriage, I was looking back at what I wasn't getting, but I never thought about what I wasn't giving her. You know, I kept saying, you don't do this, you don't do that. And I still never articulate that to her. We had a great friendship, but we didn't have the safety of communicating what we needed.
I didn't think turmeric worked without black pepper, but then I saw this clip.
The turmeric is oil soluble, which means it's not.
But I think it's oversimplified, guys. And I'm going to end it in a minute. This has been a good show with by Taylor and Dr. L. But a lot of times men are not given grace to communicate their needs. Anytime a man communicates his needs from a masculine perspective, he's misogynistic. So men just don't say anything, or they have not been socialized to communicate their needs without fear of making that woman upset. I don't care about that. I'm going to say what I want. You can either do it or you don't have to do it, but I'm going to say what I want.
What do you think is contributing to this inability to just tell the truth to each other? And do you think it's an equal issue? Because Terrence kind of puts it out there like it's a both thing. And do you see it that way? And what do you think contributes to the issue there?
I do think it goes both ways. I think that for a long time, women have never been able to express, whatever was bothering them about their men for various reasons. And I think the men, as we talked about before, want to keep their wives happy, so they didn't tell them the truth, pretended it as if everything was okay when everything was not. So I think it goes both ways. It's difficult to be married. I don't often quote the founding fathers of this country often, but I did hear a quote by Benjamin Franklin says, when you are in a marriage, when you're about to get married, you should have both your eyes open or something like that. Both of your eyes open. And once you get in marriage, you should have one of your eyes closed, right? So now, so you have to kind of overlook a lot of things. I think was his point. So I can definitely see that because you're in a situation. I know you don't like the word trap that I use, but you're in a situation.
Oh, I found the word trap. When I hear trigger words, I'm like, okay, I'm like someone's gonna catch it. Yeah.
Right. So we're in the situation, and you can't just leave, and you're in it again. You're tied up legally and entangled through your children and through finances, and it's not easy to rip those apart. And nor should you be able. Nor should it be easy. I'm certainly not. I certainly lament my divorce. And I really wish that it wouldn't have happened. But yeah, communication is difficult in a marriage. It's difficult to say things. And no matter how hard we try to articulate ourselves, no matter how slow we speak, no matter if we say we understood, you come back a day later, a week later, and be like, I didn't like this, or I didn't like that, or I didn't like your tone. The whole Kevin Samuels things, I didn't like his tone. Okay. So communication is a difficult. I made 2 videos about communication, and I didn't release them because I didn't feel like as if I was communicating it correctly, because it's so hard to say, what we have already talked about on this show. And I know, and as you're absolutely right, people are going to hear it a different way. They're going to say that this guy's a monster. This don't want to talk to nobody. You don't want no intimate relationships. I don't know how many women have said that, looked at videos that I made and said, you don't really want a relationship. That's not what I said. That's not what I said. It's not what I meant. Not what I inferred. I mean, I want them. I'm just saying it's difficult to communicate some things, and the level of intimacy that a woman desires is not the same that a man desires. So to communicate this, whatever it is in a marriage, about finances, about sex, about household chores, how we deal with the kids, religion, all of that is difficult conversations because you don't want, and in particular, again, men are very sensitive because they don't want the woman to feel as if she is attacked. I'm not attacking your cooking skills. I'm not attacking anything else. I'm simply saying that I need more, or whatever it is.
What about? I'm going to do a what about, and I usually don't. I'm going to do a what about right now. I don't want to flip it because often we definitely the defensive woman is a problem. I've talked at length about this. I'm gonna be talking about it till the end of my career, most likely. Okay, the defensive woman is definitely an issue. I do not think that the defensive man is addressed enough. That's my opinion. I don't think the defensive man is addressed enough. What do you even think about that? Do you like that profile of a man who's defensive? Because I know there's a woman that's listening to this saying it's not me. It's when I say something to him. Hey babe, I really want to go on a date this month. We haven't been on a date in the last 3 months, and he shuts down, or he thinks that I'm criticizing him when I'm just trying to address something. Anything around like the defensive man? Do you see it the same way, or?
I would say the same thing, that the man needs to work on that, and it needs to be pointed out, maybe through a third party, through counseling or something like that. But so I'm not unaware or insensitive to the fact that there are men out there who don't know how to take criticism, critique. And if you haven't taken your woman, to use your example, if you haven't taken a woman on a date in 3 months and she brings it up, a man could feel as if that was an attack on his manhood, his masculinity, or his finances, right? So there's a lot of things that could be going on in his mind. Yeah. And so there has to be a certain tact in how it is addressed. And men have fragile egos as well. Men have fragile egos, and if they don't feel as if they are somehow meeting some standard of masculinity or manhood or husbandship, then they're going to feel attacked. And so that it's going to take tact on a woman's part to say, hey, here's what we can do to make this. And I can understand that there are women who are very reluctant to talk to their men about certain items.
Yeah, there's some truth to that. But I think I would say, on the average, are there defensive men? Yes, he's correct. She's correct. But I would argue that men have been more conditioned to meet her needs and expectation Dandelion. I'm gonna end this, guys, in about 5 more minutes. I gotta go. But thank you guys for tuning in.
So the defensiveness is definitely a big wall for people that prevents honest communication. Do you think, like what Terrence was talking about in the clip, are there any other things that you can point to that you think contribute to that problem? Because I think this issue creates a whole, he mentioned his divorce. These issues create whole divorces when there is not clear, open channels of communication between the two parties, husband and wife. Aside from defensiveness, do you think that there's anything else that in particular that's specifically, or rather say particularly, that makes conversation particularly challenging?
So we have communication being open and honest. I think that harboring, this would go into communication, is harboring past wrongs from previous relationship or even things that happened early on in that particular relationship. And if you can deal with those things, because misunderstandings are going to happen, and if you just sit on it and never confront it, it's going to continue to grow. And so it takes tact, it takes skill, it takes practice. And again, if you need a third party, be it a pastor, be it a friend, be it counseling services, etc., that have those difficult conversations if the relationship is worth having and saving.
Well, I agree with that. I think Dr. L is correct. I do like the fact that I think a lot of men are beginning to speak up more, and the narrative is turning, and the shaming language is not really mattering to men. But I think this was a good conversation about the two. I would love to do a show with the young lady Taylor at some point as well. She's very fair and balanced compared to many. But guys, it's been another good show of Keeping It Kosher, man. I really appreciate you guys tuning in. I'm going to sign off real quick. Thank you to my man Ray Johnson for showing love, guys. I'm going to sign off. I'm going to get me some hot wings. My Tar Heels lost, man, sadly. But I thought that was a good conversation by those two fine people. And shout out to Taylor Chandler, and shout out to my man Dr. L. And guys, start demanding what you want in relationships if you've done the work. And never let anybody minimize what their worth is. So we're going to sign off, guys. Thank y'all for tuning in, guys. Y'all be well.
Fire for your mind. The Kosher Clinician.
If it ain't seven, it ain't kosher. Heaven and hell, that's what they told you. Real men put the strap down and we can toss them. Young heads picking back up and young dolphins. This is our culture. Now we talking kosher. Clinician, masculinity issues. Absent fathers who miss you. Mama drama don't kiss you. All a part of the ritual. This is how they get you. Separate the men, women clipping babies pretend to. Damn. Lovers, haters acting like vultures. If it ain't seven, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, ain't right, gotta divorce us. If it ain't seven, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, ain't right, gotta divorce us. If it ain't seven, it ain't kosher. If it ain't kosher, ain't right, gotta divorce us. This is kosher condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. This is kosher condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. This is kosher condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. This is kosher condition. 7 wonders, the whole world gotta listen. Listen. Listen.